Sleepytime Tales with Michael Dreher.
I've never been able to make friends. I'm a pretty affable guy, I'm easy to get on with and all that. Lots of acquaintances. I just don't know how to take those acquaintances and turn them into friendships. And I've tried so many times, but it's just not something I'm capable of. What I am capable of is trauma bonding. That's those, sort of fleeting relationships which you get when people are forced together by traumatic circumstances. When that restaurant burnt down on Mound, I hurried there to make friends in the flames. After the massacre on Eslo Market, I bonded with trembling stall holders and pallid hipsters. Whenever there's a bad crash on Flint Mount Drive or they find another body in the Witchwood, I'll be there, absorbing connections with people. But wandering around searching for traumas to exploit just isn't enough anymore. I get horribly lonely, you see. I never meant any harm. I just wanted to make some friends for a little bit. So I decided to create disasters of my own. I started out small, throwing a puppy into speeding traffic and then sharing in the trauma of those who saw it careen through the air, disassembling as it spun. Pushing a pram down Harrowdown Hill and then consoling the baby's parents. Making bomb threats in the supermarket, that kind of thing. After a while, the bonds I made in these mini catastrophes were no longer enough to vanquish my terrible loneliness. So I worked harder to create bigger traumas so I wouldn't have to be alone. I started a fire in Owlerton High School's science lab so I could bond with frightened teachers. Rolled a hand grenade down the aisle of St. Mungus Church in the middle of a wedding. Released a pack of slavering feral dogs into a nursery. And it still wasn't enough. I'd become addicted to trauma bonding by now. I had no other way of connecting with another human being, no way of developing meaningful friendships. Each time I found or made a disaster and shared a brief connection with an actual person, I found myself hungry for more hours spent tutting and shaking my head while some pale survivor retells their ordeal, crystallizing events into a story they can tell their friends later on, corroborating details, making sure they didn't imagine the entire thing. I needed it. Loneliness is a terrible burden, and by definition, it's not one you can ever share. And so I did terrible things to lighten my burden a while. I derailed a train leaving Linfield, Victoria, but it was only a freight train. I redirected the River Lynn to try to completely flood Old Town. I strapped bombs to stray cats and then detonated them whenever somebody stopped to pet the cat. Each time, concerned passers-by would coagulate, and I would hide amongst them, soaking up those delicious trauma bonds. Eventually, my addiction to human interaction led me here. I was coldly logical in my pursuit of the ultimate trauma bond, and you are the reward for my endeavour. I put in years of hard graft in order to make our relationship. Now I have that. All I ask of you, my only friend, is your forgiveness. Forgive the things I did to get your friendship. Forgive me for killing all those people. Forgive the old woman in the green cardigan that her granddaughter knitted for her with little embroidered moths along the hem. I picked her up outside the supermarket and stoved her head in with a Breville toasty maker. Forgive the meathead out jogging at dawn, his beard as unnatural in its blackness as his teeth are in their whiteness. I dismembered him and left chunks of his meat scattered about the Witchwood. Forgive the sex worker I disemboweled. Forgive me for threading her intestines between the trees on Owlerton Park like sausage bunting. It wasn't about her, or the meathead, or the woman with the cardi. I carried out each murder with a view to the bigger picture, you see. Eventually the police noticed. They caught me and locked me up for life as a serial killer. But I'm not a serial killer. I am the world's greatest friend. I killed them for you, before I even knew you, which means you are just as much to blame as I am. On my first day in prison, that was when I saw you, and I chose you to be my friend. So many men already traumatized and desensitized, all ripe for friendship, but I chose you. All I had to do was make a trauma we could bond over, and then I was sure we'd become firm friends and share our secrets and talk about our day and trade war stories. I started the fire in the exercise yard. It was a lure to get all the guards together. Weeks earlier, I'd got a letter out to a very useful guy called Barry Bones. Barry and I trauma bonded when his daughter was mauled by feral dogs in her nursery. It was Barry who smuggled the guns into the prison. Barry organised this entire riot, the murder of the guards, all of it, so that I could finally speak with you, and we can trauma bond, and I might finally have a friend. My name's Theo. What's yours?